Hi, today we are going to show you how we do our animal control evaluations. So the reason why it's so important to do off-leash intros, and by off-leash I mean they're still wearing their leash, we're just not holding them, because so many dogs have leash reactivity and leash aggression that they're going to come off as if they're dog aggressive and you do those intros on leash, when in fact they're actually good with dogs. It's just they cannot meet other dogs on leash. So I would say one of the biggest things that makes people nervous is if you're used to always holding the leashes, is dropping them. It's essentially for you jumping off a cliff. You know, you have to push yourself to do it, but there's such a big reason why you have to do it, because as a dog sees another dog, if they have leash reactivity, they're going to be stressed when they see that dog. So the longer they're being held back, the stress is going to increase, and the stress is going to increase, and eventually they're going to go over that stress threshold to where it could go to aggression. So let's say you hold the leash for a minute straight and they just see that dog and they're just starting to lose their mind, and you finally let it go and they're so amped up that then it causes a fight. Now if you never held that leash for that long of a time, their stress is going to be much lower and it's going to go much easier and less chance of a fight. When we do evaluations, it's important to not do the old standardized testing where you do the fake hand and you're touching all over them and expecting them to be perfect, because as we've learned, dogs, their stress level can change their behavior. Being an animal control is very stressful. Being in a shelter is very stressful. So you don't want to necessarily judge them just based on a one-time instance. You want to get to know them constantly and gather that information over time. So while we're here, we're just kind of really seeing how they are with other dogs. That helps me for placement. We're not going to criticize them if they're not wanting pets because of the stress. We're not going to be forcing our hands down their throats to see how they react. We're just kind of just getting to know them and seeing how they do with us in general. So we like to have quite a few tools in case something happens. A spray bottle, which is just water, shaker can. This has pennies in it. This is just like an old Altoid tin, and it's just tape, so you shake it. Pet corrector, which sounds like this. Air horn, which I'm not going to do out here because it's really loud. A bite stick, which I normally have one that's not chewed on. It's just the one I have available. And those are my baseline tools. So whenever you're using these tools, you never want to start off with the most extreme. The most extreme would be the bite stick and the air horn. Because let's say they have like a little squabble but nothing big. If you go straight to that air horn, that's going to be impression to their mind. Now if you have an intense fight, that air horn's already been used and it's not going to be as shocking to them. So you want to start lower. So spray bottle is my favorite. This is a great tool to mediate them, especially when you're trying to bring another dog into the yard. You can always squirt them back, and it works really well. The shaker can works nicely. Then I go to pet corrector if needed, and then air horn. So the drag leash is essentially, it's just a leash that they're dragging. This is what we mean by off leash. Technically we're not holding a leash, but they have a leash on, they're just dragging it. Just in case something happens, we can go ahead and grab it and pull them apart if needed, or mediate them with the leashes. So when you're having them meet at the fence, just very quickly, if one is acting not very well and you have a weird gut feeling, put the muzzle on. And I'm going to just demonstrate how to put a muzzle on now. Come here, baby. So we like to use Baskerville, the older style. The newer model isn't as well, but how it works is it clips in the back like this, and then this clips over the top. So I'm going to demonstrate with her right here. So I'm stepping on a leash just so she can't run away. I'll put it on the front and clip it in the back. I don't know, baby. They always try and get it off. And then you clip this right here over top. So that way she can't bite a dog if she tries. They're going to try to get it off. That's normal. But if you're concerned about the safety of the other dog, it's worth it. The newer model of Baskerville doesn't have this clip anymore. Now it's always attached like this. Not as big of a fan of it, but it does work. It's just a little harder when you're trying to switch them out between dogs. It's more fitted for one dog to stay like that, where these can go between different dogs easily. But yeah. So a bite stick is essentially when a dog is holding on and not letting go. How it works is you're going to stick it in their mouth and then turn it so that it pops up in their mouth. Of course, when this is happening, you got to be careful. Always be careful with your hands and where they're in your feet associated with the fight. You need to be hyper aware of where your body is at that time. So if you have, it varies on how your setup is at your shelter or where you're able to do intros at. Here at Animal Control, we have a fenced in area, which is very nice, and a little fence right here. So whenever the dogs come and meet, we let them smell each other real quick right here, and then we let them in. So that way it's not a surprise when they're coming in.
Yeah. What did he change? Oh, see how he just kind of walked away and now he's going. Come on. And she's gonna let him in and drop the leash. And we're just gonna kind of let them do their thing. And then if there's an issue, we're getting involved. But I would say 98% of the time, everything goes fine. If you see the setup, there's another fenced-in area there as well. You really don't want another dog on the other side because that barrier activity and aggression can start causing fights between the two that you have. They could start fence fighting. So while you're doing these, make sure that field, if you have a side part, is empty. So you never really want them to like gang up in a corner or like right by the door. I always call them those are the red zones. Anywhere a dog feels trapped, that they could go into like a fight or flight mode. You don't want, if they don't have a place to fight, they're going to go into fight. So keep those any quarters empty with your spray bottle. Keep them away from that. Same thing with the doors. If you have a bunch of dogs coming into your yard, let's say you have 20 or 10, whatever, and you bring another dog in, make sure you're spraying them back. You don't want them all right up there. And as soon as you come in, just start walking. You see how they didn't stop right at that door? They're intentionally walking away so the dogs kind of get out of that tight area. It's always important when you're taking your dogs out to know if they're male, female, their age, and if they're fixed or not. So biologically, 2 unneutered males can be prone to fight, especially if they see a female in heat, and they can smell a female in heat for up to 6 miles away. So we never put unneutered males together. There are some places that are so high volume, they don't have that luxury. So in that case, they tend to muzzle them. But in general, I don't like to do it because it's just an unwanted, it's an easy fight that could be avoided until they're fixed.